Let's jump into this first story from the AP. It's just so silly. Alex Jones ordered to pay $965 million for Sandy Hook lies an hour ago. I saw that and I just bursted out laughing. I think I was on the toilet and I'm looking at my phone and I'm like right when the news breaks, I was like, is this a joke? Come on. When they did the $50 million, I was like, wow, that's brutal. I still doubt anyone's going to get a penny from this because the way lawsuits work. Alex Jones says he doesn't even have the money anyway. Then they're $1 billion? This is just like, what is this for? Narrative and for the TV to say, oh, he lied about this and now he's got to pay $1 billion. It reminds me of Austin Powers when in the first one, he freezes himself and then he goes to the future and he says, I want $1 million. And they all laugh at him. And then they're like, Dr. Evil, $1 million today isn't actually a lot of money. And he's like, oh. And then in the next one, he goes back in time and says, I want $100 billion. And they'll start laughing at him again, saying, you might as well have just said a bajillion, gajillion dollars. That money doesn't exist. This is what it is. Like, who in their right mind thinks Alex Jones has $1 billion to give away?
I don't think anyone. I mean, he's been pretty transparent with his finances, and he doesn't. I don't understand. There's that phrase, trying to squeeze blood from a stone.
From a turnip.
From a turnip?
Yeah.
I don't know how the law works in this kind of situation where someone gets sued for money that they don't have.
I'm sorry. This is the biggest judgment in U.S. history, apparently, for defamation.
And it's people won a judgment for defamation that weren't even named by Alex Jones. I don't understand this. There were like six people's families, and an FBI agent that was involved somehow is pain and suffering from something Alex Jones. I mean, I understand he named someone, and then that person had phone calls. People went to that person's house. I don't know what the extent of what happened. That I get. That guy can sue for defamation. He got named for something but the rest of them, I don't understand this, and it's setting a precedent.
There wasn't even a trial. They just had a judgment because they had problems with discovery, and this is the second of 3 trials. There's still going to be yet another trial, and this settlement, this judgment, is almost as big as, of course, one of the biggest healthcare fraud settlements in history, which was given to Pfizer that had to pay $2.3 billion for fraudulent marketing back a couple years ago. So when you compare the two, bad opinions compared to what Pfizer did back then, there's a big difference.
Well, here's a question then. So what should happen? And I don't have an answer to this. Let's say you're a parent of the Sandy Hook thing. You're devastated and there are people turning up at your house because of what Alex Jones said. What should happen? Maybe nothing.
Well, I mean, that's tough. For one, Alex had said that under Texas law, you have to say someone's name for it to be defamation, and that he was just saying these people and those people. But I think he did name one person. There was one individual he named. I'll say this. Alex Jones went on a show to a massive audience and said things that were not true. He's allowed to have his opinions. But when he said things definitively, there's a question there of defamation when you call out someone with false information who is not a public figure. I don't think the New York Times should be allowed to get away with it. My big issue, there's a couple of things I have issue with here. One, $1 billion is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They didn't give him a trial, and when are any of these big major media organizations ever going to be held to account in any way, let alone any way like this? It's not happening. So you can see how the machine comes for people who are outside of the establishment. I would say I would find it reasonable if Alex Jones was actually ordered to pay, 6 figures to each family, for each family member, something like that. Maybe the total payout would have been like $5 million. And they would have said that to cover the cost of security and moving, all the legitimate, costs incurred by these families. But the idea is here, punitive damages. The lawyers actually said to the jury, fine him so much he cannot keep his business up and running, or something to that effect. So the goal here is to punish him so that he doesn't do it again. And I just think that is where I say, no, that's wrong. And I'll tell you, Alex Jones is allowed to be wrong about things. He's allowed to have his opinion about things. Now, if he defamed by saying statements of fact that were not true about private individuals, then I think he owes them damages. But if it was that he truly believed it, and he was expressing his opinion on a major news event, then I don't see how you come after him for tens of millions or even $1 billion. Paying for actual damages because you were wrong and spread misinformation about someone that damaged their life, that I understand.
I'm thinking about a metaphor. I know you love it, about like social media administration. And one of the things at Minds that we were talking about is if you ban someone for violating terms of service, you ban the channel. And then when they try and make a new channel, some of the admins would be like, no, they can't make any more channels. They violated the terms. I'm like, no, you're not banning the person. You're banning the channel. The channel violated the terms. So it's the same thing with Alex. You don't stop him from coming back. That's not the point. You punish him for the fraud or whatever, or the problem, but there's no like preventing people from existing or a realm back to normality. That's my opinion anyway.
Or redemption.
It's essential.
Oh, right.
The human conversation is about redemption. That's the Christian ethos, is redemption.
Well, these people aren't Christians.
Well, our society is kind of based on it in a lot of ways.
And I think that's a good thing. I think progress is a good thing, but I think there's a lot of values that come from Christian values that I think are good. Notably, like innocent until proven guilty is a really good one. And there's a lot of bad ones. And we found over a long period of time we've gotten rid of the bad ones. But I think with this, the issue comes down to you cannot get rid of Alex Jones. It's impossible. Okay, here you go. John Smith starts a media company and then says, Alex, I'm going to hire you and I'm going to pay you $10 an hour to host, this show. A benefit of working for this company is that you're going to eat at a 5-star restaurant steakhouse every night. The company pays for your penthouse and you get a corporate car, and you get corporate private jets, but you only get paid $10 an hour. What are they going to do?
Rad, that's cool.
What are they going to do? So if Alex Jones as a personality on a show generates millions of dollars, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. So if they sue him into oblivion, he has a trusted individual who starts a company and hires him. And then what? Now, if at that point he says something again, they can sue that company, sure. But then what? You just do it again? It's ridiculous. You cannot, there's nothing you can do to stop Alex Jones. He is unstoppable. He is a gigantic man boulder rolling down a hill. You will not stop him.
Screaming on the top of his
That's
lungs,
right.
going crazy.
I want you to imagine Alex Jones rolling down a hill at 100 miles an hour going, just
he hits the bottom of that ramp and then he just goes flying through the air.
And
It's
then
awesome.
supernova.
Yeah. And then he's like meditating in the sky as he's flying.
Like that Pokemon, not Pikachu. I forgot who it is. Charizard.
But let me say this. How many times, I'll put it this way. The New York Times, the lies about the Iraq war and all of that stuff, the lies about Iraq that got us into a war, that cost what? How many people died?
Yeah, really.
And how many innocent civilians were killed? How much money was wasted? How much damage just around the world because of this? Have we sued the New York Times into oblivion to make sure they can never operate again? No, of course not. They just say, well, don't do it again. And we all suffer because of it. Alex Jones says incorrect things about a bunch of families that I think it was wrong of him to say. And in the end, they're like, let's make sure he can never, ever run a company. They want to destroy not just his life. They want to destroy the lives of anyone who worked for him. Even a guy who's like a groundskeeper or a security guard. That's insane. I want to tell you one more very, very important thing, especially as it pertains to censorship. When they censored Alex Jones on YouTube, this is very important. They did not just take away his ability to speak. They deleted the entire archive of all of the work he had ever produced and published on that platform. That's the scary thing about social media censorship. It doesn't just say you can't talk anymore. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube erases your entire history. Gone.
And then you can't comply with discovery. And then they're like, where's the video clips? Where's the video footage? Where's your apology? When did you say sorry? Show us the details. And of course, no one has the ability to have that many hard drives, that many backups of he streams essentially, what is it, 4 hours a day on his show. And then there's a bunch of other shows that he goes on. So it's just impossible. And truly the larger censorship efforts are repugnant and disgusting. And the corporate media does what Alex Jones does every single day. The only difference is they never get held accountable for all the lies and all the disinformation that they spew.
Repugnant.
Yeah, that's a word, right?
Repugnant.
I love that
Potato,
word.
potato. You know what I was saying.
I thought it was a word I didn't know.
There you go.
Yeah, it sounded quite good to me.
But the context transfer, people got it.
Is the issue that, I mean, this was an emotional reaction, I suppose. It's like $1 billion or whatever it is. I do agree with what you're saying, actually. Now that I think about this, to delete someone's entire archive of work seems insane.
Yep.
But I also just feel like, what is to stop all of us now from just saying whatever we want that completely ruins someone's life that might not be true? What should be done?
Human decency, I guess. Morals, ethics. To an extent, the Christian values that were instilled in this country, whether you like them or don't, they're there. What should be done is defamation tort, civil tort. I think we have a problem with Times v. Sullivan. Are you familiar with Times v. Sullivan? This is a precedent that basically says politicians and public figures. It's not just Times v. Sullivan. There was another court case that added to it, but it's basically the precedent that says if you're a public figure, then there's a higher degree of scrutiny. And I think that there's good things and bad things about it, but I think it kind of weighs on the negative. What this means is if CNN comes out and lies about me and says that, Tim Pool, punched a dog. And then I sue and say, no, I didn't. They'll say you're a public figure.
Oh, well, that's no good.
No. And so, saying that I punched a dog is a very definitive thing. So they probably would have a hard time with saying something that definitive. But they can come out and say that you're a known white supremacist who sympathizes and does this, that, or otherwise. And then if you try and sue, they'll say it's a protected opinion against a public, person. And so case dismissed. If you're a private individual, then you've got way more grounds, which is why Alex Jones basically lost here. But I think the real reason he lost here is because the machine was out to get him. That's my opinion on the matter.
It's pretty clear. Look what the corporate media does. Just a few months ago, during the whole Afghanistan debacle, the United States Pentagon military literally launched a missile strike and killed an aid worker. The U.S. corporate media said that he was ISIS-K, that he was a terrorist. He was an aid worker that was bringing fresh water to Afghanistan. That's libel. That's defamation. This family is being defamed as some kind of new radical Islamist terrorists when in reality they were working with the U.S. government bringing fresh water to Afghanistan. Is the corporate media going to be held responsible for that particular incident of defamation, of lying about someone that just had their entire family annihilated in a drone strike that the corporate media and the U.S. Pentagon were lying about? No. Should they? If we're going to be playing by these rules? Absolutely. And I think you would get a reward more than $1 billion for such defamation and such actions if we're playing by the same rules set by the president of this particular court hearing.
I don't normally do super chats this early, but there is one that I want to address because I brought it up. And I think for people who are listening to the segment, they should hear it. Augusto Mimiche says, where is innocent until proven guilty in the Bible? He who is without sin isn't the same. No, it is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And it was, I think it was Abraham was talking to God. And God was like, I'm probably getting the story wrong, but the general idea is, I'm going to blow up these cities because they're full of, nasty people. And then he asks, but what if there are 50 righteous people? And he's like, okay, if there are 50 righteous people, I won't blow it up. He said, what about 40? Okay, if there's 40. And then finally it comes down to, what if there is but one righteous man? And he says, okay, if there is one righteous man, I will not destroy these cities. The idea there is that you cannot condemn someone to death if they are a righteous person, right? That's the general idea. That was the inspiration for Blackstone's formulation. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer, which then went to Benjamin Franklin, who said it's better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And the philosophy there, the legal and moral and governmental philosophy is if people don't have faith that as innocent individuals, they will be protected from false accusations. If people believe that even if they are innocent, the machine will try to crush them, then they don't lend their confidence to government. Government doesn't work. Ultimately, this becomes the element of the government that is, you must have a trial. You must be proven guilty. You can confront your accusers and you are innocent until they prove you're guilty. It's amazing. I was reading about, why I was reading about the Constitution, where these ideas came from, why we had them. And I traced that one all the way back. It was very, very fascinating. So, there we go.
They say that 10% of people in prison are innocent. And it reminds me of Amanda Knox. You remember Amanda Knox?
Oh, yeah.
She was on my podcast, and she's this lovely person. She seems so nice. And the minute I put that out, the amount of abuse I got and that she got, she now has to live with that because people don't go by innocent until proven guilty. They're just all convinced she did it,
Yeah, the court of public opinion now.
Yeah. And that's the problem with stuff like this Alex Jones thing. Most people don't even know the full details of the trial, and I'm not going to pretend to either. I think if you watch someone like Viva Frei, you might get a much better understanding of how the court case played out and everything like that. But then you take a look at like the Ahmaud Arbery case, you take a look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Yeah. There are mobs with pitchforks going around demanding violent ends and they don't even know what happened. Like hands up, don't shoot. People were rioting over the Michael Brown stuff that turned out to be fake. Ferguson the West Florissant in Ferguson was burnt to the ground. All these buildings over lies from the media, and the media went there and they were all gloating and talking about how it was a great networking event. These people are nasty people, man.
So I don't think this is going to be a devastating blow against Alex Jones, because he is very persistent, and I think he's definitely going to figure out a lot of different ways around this. I think he already has safeguarded a lot of his assets and a lot of his businesses, but also more importantly, a lot of legal experts are saying that he's going to win on appeal when it comes to, of course, challenging this major decision. There's still, again, one more court hearing that's going to, of course, be going after him. But more importantly, I think with hyperinflation, the $1 billion is going to be a cakewalk, especially with the value of the dollar going down with the Federal Reserve quantitative easing policies that have utterly destroyed our currency. And $1 billion is going to be nothing in a few months from now.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.